I got some big shoes to follow. And let me just tell you a little about myself and part of my journey, and then I'll tell you about the case um, that I worked on. Um, I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia. Um, I grew up in a neighborhood that was somewhat privileged, but I wasn't. So at a very young age, I knew I had to, if I wanted to do something, I had to go out and work for it. So I started cleaning houses, and I was very good at that because I was very detail oriented. And I graduated high school in 1974, and then I enrolled into Community College of Philadelphia, 2 years of community college. Then I transferred to Temple University. And I was never really good at math. And I said, I'm going to conquer it. So I majored in accounting. I couldn't add two and two and get six. And to this day, I can't add two and two and get six. But I was very fortunate with that little cleaning business I had. I kept on working on it. And when I graduated college, I did take a 6 year program because I was working full time. I just had a space to everything out. And when I graduated, I took a job as an accountant. And after about 3 weeks, I knew this wasn't right for me. And the fourth week, I gave my notice and I went back into the cleaning business with a really big desire. All I did was ever clean houses. And then I got a little office, then a little office. Then I got an office building, which was 25,000 square feet. And then I got another building that was 50,000 square feet. And then one day I got lucky. By the way, someone once told me the harder you work, the luckier you get. I got this company called UPS. And the first building I got was 250,000 square feet. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I remember thinking about what someone once told me. Hopefully nobody will do this, but if you're going to eat an elephant, you eat it a piece at a time. So I broke down the building into portions and I put the people in the right place. And lo and behold, I was really successful there. And I got another UPS plant and I kept on using the UPS plants and the other janitorial. But I always loved textiles. And back in the 80s, everything was carpeted. Wendy's was carpeted. Pizza Hut was carpeted. Every restaurant had carpets. And some of the older folks on this Zoom meeting, they might remember that they had carpeting on the baseboards. So I started a carpet and upholstery cleaning business. And the business started growing very, very nicely. And at the end of each year, because I had the janitor and everything else, not to get killed in taxes, I went out and bought another truck and a truck mount. That's the big machine that sits in the truck to clean the carpets. And I started expanding and I turned around one day and said, oh my gosh, I got 7 trucks. And they were going day and night. And the business kept on growing. And then I went after industrial parks where you see all today they're empty, but there were a lot of industrial parks were packed with people and they had to get these buildings cleaned. So I set up contracts to clean the carpets and the common areas may have been flooring or whatever type of work they needed to get done. And things were going really, really nice. I was running on all 8 cylinders. But in between that, I want to go back a little is I never really wanted children because I came from an abusive father and I was scared that I might pass that on to myself being that way with my children. So I didn't want to have children. What I wanted and what I was blessed with are two different things. I was blessed with 4 beautiful daughters, and I did not repeat what my father did to me. I went the opposite way. Then the pandemic hit. Woo. And that was devastating to my business, but it was very, very good for me. If I had to do it, say it over again, I would have taken the pandemic in a heartbeat. Even though it hurt my business drastically, I was very, very grateful because I went within and my spirituality grew. And I believe around 2021, between 2020 and 21, I was always spiritual. And I took a Reiki 1 course, Reiki 1, then I took Reiki 2. And within a year, I took Reiki 3, and I was a Reiki master, and I was a practitioner. Um, and the only way I know if I was doing well at it is that people call me back up. Hey, Jan, would you mind giving me another session? And the way I exchanged energy is I didn't charge as much, but I said I have to exchange energy so somebody once baked me a cake, somebody else once took me out to dinner, and then at one point I did take monetary terms for that. But something else was gnawing at me. I did not know what was gnawing at me, but something else was gnawing at me, and that was pranic healing. And in 2023, at the Awakening Holistic Center, they were having an expo in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. Allison was on one part of the place, and she was at a table, and she had a tent, and inside that tent was another table, but it was a massage table. And people were actually giving healing sessions. And I went up to Allison and I asked her about it. She said, "Would you like a healing session?" And I looked at her and my eyes glanced away. I said, "No, no, I'm okay." And I walked away. I didn't want a session. I wanted to learn about it. All I had to do was ask her about it. Well, fast forward, a year went by. I saw her at the Expo again the following year in 2024, and that was in the fall. And through the way the universe worked and other things, in May of that year, I sold my business. And someone said to me, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "I don't know. I'll wait for the universe to put it out there for me." And I just let the universe tell what was going to happen next. Well, I was in a class with Allison in May, I think it was May 25th, and it was in Bucks County. And I think it was the second day of the class. There was nothing like Reiki. This was really all conclusive. This was amazing. And Allison mentioned that the people that taught her Reiki 1 that were in New Jersey were having a package of Advanced 2 and Advanced 3. Well, I signed up immediately. I got so excited. Wow. And that was it. From that moment on, I just got involved in classes. And I was very, very fortunate that I had the time and the funds to invest in pranic healing. So, like everybody else, I took all the other classes, and then I took Crystal with Master Marlog, and then it was amazing. Then I took Arhatic Yoga with Master Glenn, and the best part about it, near the end, because this was a long day, it was at 6 o'clock. Mr. Marlock came on, and then we were all there together to about 7 o'clock, and it was just amazing. And then I said, "I'm at home. This is what I was looking for." So, getting back to my case, which I didn't talk about yet, and during the pandemic, a bunch of people got together, friends of mine, and said, "Hey, let's get together and meet on Zoom because we were all locked in our homes." And after about a week or two, because we did it like once a week, there was like 20 some people I've never met before. And I got to be friendly with someone that we had similar type of things. He sold his family business around the same time I did. And we kind of clicked. We kind of hit it off. And in August, I saw him in a store and we talked. And we were in the aisle for about, I don't know, 20 minutes when someone said, "Can you guys take it outside?" And we laughed, we giggled, and we said, "Hey, let's get together." And we got together the following day. And when I came over, it was around 2 o'clock. We're sitting down, we're talking. He goes in the other room, he brings out a bottle of bourbon and two glasses and puts some ice in it. And he pours one in himself. And he went to pour me. I put my hand on top of the glass and said, "I'm okay." And I just told him, I'm just not drinking. Um, and then he tried to convince me to have another one, but we still had a really great time, this, and that. He said, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I'm an energy healer." "A what?" "An energy healer. Do you ever hear of Reiki?" Well, he's on his computer. He looked up Reiki. He goes, "Oh, okay, I know what that is. I heard my wife talking about it once." And then I said, "Well, I'm a pranic healer." And he looked that up. He goes, "What's pranic healing?" And I explained it to him. Um, And then I said to him, he said to me, "Well, why aren't you drinking?" I said, "Well, I stopped drinking." He goes, "When did you stop drinking?" I said, "A while ago." He goes, "Why?" I said, "It lowers your vibrations And my life is in a beautiful trajectory right now, and I don't need anything to mess with it. And I'm happier without drinking. And he looked at me with a sad look in his eyes. And he says, oh, I got it. And I said, did you ever think about stop drinking? He goes, oh. And then he went, yeah, kind of, but I didn't know who to talk to. And, it's a little embarrassing to talk to people about that. I said, well, first of all, there's no judgment here, number one. And number two, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. So we talked for a little bit while, and I said, Reiki could probably help you out with that. And I explained it to him. I said, we can meet tomorrow. And he said, yes. So I went over there the following day, and I brought my psychotherapy book for him. And I opened up the page to addictions, and there was alcohol. And I said, these are exact procedures. I am not doing anything. I'm a conduit. I'm like a piece of bamboo. I'm hollow. All the healing energy is coming from the universe. And I explained to him about the Master Choa. He was a holy man, okay? And everything that was downloaded in him through, Lord Buddha, Mahaguruji Mei Ling, and all the ancestries. I said, this is all real stuff. And I said, would you be open to it? And I did ask him, like everybody else, do you have a desire to stop drinking? He said, yes, I'm drinking by myself. And I know that's not good. So I said, fine, let's do a session. So I showed him the book, I showed him everything else, and I started doing the session. And he said to me, well, how come you're not reading everything? I said, because I've done this before. And I looked at it before, but there's nothing wrong with looking at the book. But we went through the whole process, and I asked him how he felt. Because I feel pretty good. And then we talked some more, this, and that. And I noticed something. The drink that he poured himself, he wasn't drinking. And we left the whole 9 yards. And I called him the next day. I asked him how he was doing. He said, I feel great. He said, would you come over today, please? We need to talk. I said, sure. So I went back over there. And when I met with him, he says, I feel different. I feel a little bit lighter, like weight was lifted off of me. Can we do this again? I said, yes, we can, but you have to do your part. And your part's a big part. And he said, what? I said, well, you need to go get some support. And I told him about all these other places he can get support at. And I said, there's AA also. He says, I'd be too scared to walk in there by myself. I said, I'll go with you. No problem. I'll go right with you. And we went to an AA meeting. And when we left, he said, that wasn't that bad. I said, no, it wasn't bad at all. So we went back to his house, and then I did another session on him. And he kept on feeling better and better. And then he started going to AA on a regular basis. And he was very good in business. And he went to their business meeting, and then he got involved in the back part of helping them reorganize things, put stuff on spreadsheets. And I continued to do about 3 sessions a week with him. Because again, I always knew it at the psychotherapy part. I never did a healing for alcoholism before. Um, but about 2 weeks ago, I met him and we did another healing together. And he looked at me and he almost had tears in his eyes. He says, I love you. I said, I love you too. He said, I never thought we would become good friends, but I never thought I could get away from the alcohol. And it started during the pandemic. So I feel wonderful that because of Pranic Healing and Master Choa bringing all this together, it's amazing that we could help each other. And that's what we're here to do. When someone said, what is your purpose? I said, I'm here to help. I sold my business. And the reason I sold my business is because there was something else out there for me to do. And I explained that to him. And he said to me, what's there for me to do? I said, ask the universe, ask your higher power, and you'll find out. And to this day, it's been since August that he hasn't had a drink. And he's actually goes to AA, I would say about 5, 6 times a week. And he said that's very helpful for him. But he said also pranic healing. Now, I did tell him that there's a pranic healing class in uh, outside Doylestown. It's called the Circle of Miracle, and I'll also be teaching it in December. And I said it would be great to see you there. And if you go there, I'd be more than happy to join you. So hopefully he'll join the Pranic Healing family. So I think that's all I have to say.